Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast, the Project Investigation Collaboration, brought to you by the Veritas Project. And we are here with our gracious host and founder of the Veritas Project, Robert Wiki Bob Curtis.
Hello.
And I am lead investigator Todd Boyer, and welcome to the podcast, everybody.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody.
Oh, so our big podcast that we did on the Book of Oberon finally kind of went away.
It fell out of the FYP.
But we still ended up with over 12,000 views.
Yeah.
And I noticed we picked up a few more subscribers this morning. Mm-hmm. But from what we picked up since the time we put out that podcast is 1,750-ish new subscribers in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Welcome aboard,
there we
everybody.
go. Welcome to the new people. Hope you enjoyed the show. So this week, I'm going to unzip here. This week we are going to talk about Ouija boards.
Yeah.
So you got anything else going on in the news besides the truck situation?
My new truck broke down.
His brand new truck. But that's okay. The CarMax people or whatever it is, they're going to take care of it.
I was stressed out because I couldn't find my code reader to find out what was wrong with it. So it was driving me crazy. So,
right.
But I went over there today with my old school code reader and read the codes, and it's a sensor that went bad, so it's not.
But they'll take care of it, considering you just bought it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they try to weasel out of it, though, if CarMax.
Right.
She was like, well, you got your warranty through your insurance, you could claim it against your comp and collision. I'm like, or you could just honor your warranty. One of those two things.
Right. So, considering you've had it, what, like, not even
3 weeks.
Yeah, it's like, you got it, like, the day of the storms, which I think was a Thursday, or Friday, even.
Yeah, it was a Friday.
So, it was like, you've had it 2 weeks in a day, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they can honor their stuff.
Yeah, for real.
Right? So, this week, we are going to talk about Ouija boards.
Yeah.
And where they came from, and all that kind of stuff. So, tell them the story of this one.
This is a Ouija board. It's from the 1950s. You can tell because of the slate that it's made out of.
It's that actual, like, particle board, like the old clipboards are made out of.
And this, when they were renovating the funeral home in Columbia, Illinois, this was stuck in the rafters of the funeral home.
I wonder how it got up there.
And it looked like a piece of cardboard when we pulled it out, because there was so much dust on the top of it that it looked just like a sheet of cardboard. And as soon as the owner of the funeral home grabbed it, and I could see this guy's little face, and I was like, that's for me right there. And he's like, well, I'm going to throw this in the garbage. I'm like, you're not going to throw it in the garbage. Like, this is a vintage Ouija board.
And it's almost in perfect condition.
In almost brand new condition. You are most definitely not throwing it in the garbage. So, ever since then, it's been in my collection.
So, when we talk about, we're going to talk, obviously, get into the history and everything. And we know we've talked to you guys before about it, but we definitely want to emphasize the fact that you should not do spirit communications in your own home.
Yeah.
And you also want to make sure that when you do spirit communication, you open the communication, formally open the communication. You know, I'm going to open the spirit communication, and I'm going to use this Ouija board, and I'm going to talk to you.
Right.
And when you're done, you formally close it.
Yeah.
You know, I am done talking to you now. I don't want any further contact from you.
I always say that you have to
close it.
Yeah, have a almost like a personal ritual to open it, like ring a bell or something, you know, to initiate. Like, I'm going to initiate.
Right.
I'm
At the ringing of this bell, communication will
I'm
open.
beginning this communication now. Light the candle, you know, ring the bell, and say, during this session, you have free license to communicate with me, right? And then at the end, you blow the candle out, you ring the bell, and say, this portal is closed. I don't want any more.
Yep. There you go.
None of it.
That way you're not left with things hanging around trying to communicate.
So I always like to go that one step further than just saying, you know, communication is open, now it's closed.
Right.
I light a candle, light a couple candles, ring a bell, walk around the table.
Yeah, and then you can even say, you know, when this bell rings and these candles are extinguished.
Yeah.
You know, it's
done.
It's a hard no, we're done.
Don't wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not
tapping on my shoulder, whispering sweet nothings in your ear.
Yep. Only when the candles, only when the bell. That's it. No other time.
So the Ouija board was actually invented in the late 19th century during the spiritualist movement, which they did a lot of séances and things like that in the late 1800s. You'll see them in the movies all the time, especially the horror movies.
Yeah.
But it was very common. It was a form of entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Was to communicate with the dead.
Time.
So patented in 1891 by Elijah Bond, with help from Charles Kennard and William H.A. Maupin, they marketed it as a parlor game before gaining supernatural associations. Now, the name Ouija supposedly came from the board itself during a session. Early users believed it could contact the dead or spirits beyond. So, the spiritualism rise, right, became really popular during the Civil War.
Right.
And, of course, that's when a lot of people mourned their loved ones. Everybody lost a lot of friends and family, and they wanted closure. Yep. Yeah. Because a lot of times your significant other, your child, your dad, your brother would be miles away off at war, and you would never know what happened to them until way later, or sometimes they just never returned home.
Never got word.
So spiritualists actually used mediums and séances and spirit boards to communicate with the dead. The Ouija board falls under the spirit board category. And the Ouija board became a tool for amateur spiritual communicators.
Right.
So spiritualism merged Victorian curiosity with mysticism and pseudoscience. And figures like the Fox sisters played a major role in spreading belief in spirit contact.
Yeah, and mediumship and spiritualism was very expensive. It was a upper class kind of thing. So the Ouija board that you could buy at your local toy shop, you could bring that into your house, and then you could partake in the spiritualist stuff, for whatever the cost of this was, a couple bucks back then. So it brought that into the home, so then like families could sit around and they would play with the Ouija board and talk to Napoleon or Charlemagne or whatever, whatever people did.
Crystal balls and divination and all that kind of stuff
all that fun stuff
was super popular. And we're actually thinking about maybe covering divination next week.
Yeah.
We get specific here, but then we'll cover the gambit, with tarot and throwing of bones.
This
and
kind of stuff we haven't
really touched on it much.
So that'd be cool. We could talk about crystals or any of that kind of stuff. We'll do a whole show about crystals, so it'd be fun.
So the movement on the board is actually attributed to ideometer effect, and that effect unconscious movements guiding by belief or expectation. Now, studies have shown users don't consciously move the planchette.
Right.
So, and psychology sees it as a tool revealing subconscious thoughts, not spirits. Despite this, many remain convinced of paranormal influence. Well, that goes back to, what we talk about all the time about how we're supposed to believe in hard science, and everything unexplained is just supposed to be thrown out the window.
Yeah.
But
there is science behind the Ouija board, though. That's one of the things. That's why we wanted to talk about this, because the micromotor movements in your hands, it actually is a repeatable, testable phenomenon. And now in the modern era, we know that it's something to do with your subconscious, like I said. And it actually is you moving the planchette and your friends who are touching it, so it really is you guys doing it. Right. It's not,
But it's not done consciously.
Right, but you don't know it's doing it. Right. That's why you get the hair stand up on the back of your head, like, it's moving, I'm not moving it, you're moving it, Right. So it does work.
And Christian groups have condemned Ouija boards as demonic tools, and many churches classify them as a gateway to possession or evil. Now, some countries have banned or restricted the sale of Ouija boards.
Right.
And Islamic and Jewish traditions also caution against spirit communication, often cited in exorcism cases or spiritual warfare discussion, which is where they got their bad name is, rumor of demonic possession after use of Ouija boards and things like that.
It's a conduit. They say that you're leaving yourself open to the spirit.
And that's the problem, is they left themselves the communication pathway open. Now, they became really popular in the 70s, right? In 73 after the Exorcist movie. And that movie and the whole situation of haunting there was blamed on a possession from the Ouija board.
Right.
And recurrent shows like Supernatural, Stranger Things, and horror novels. Now, and they're seen as a trope in Halloween imagery and supernatural stories. And often depicted as unpredictable, malevolent, or cursed. and fictional portrayals amplify fears and myths surrounding its use. Just like any other communication device, you have to be aware of what you're quote-unquote playing with.
Right.
You know, you're literally playing with fire. I mean,
Yeah.
so you do have to know that you're playing with something that could be
dangerous.
That could be dangerous. And that's why you take the precautions of opening and closing and setting boundaries even.
Right.
You know, I won't discuss this. You're not allowed to enter me. But, you know,
Right.
you really, it's best to, anytime you do a communication, to set all those boundaries up.
Yeah.
To protect yourself. And, you know, also like when we leave an investigation, like Bob and I are both in, you know, don't follow us home. You know,
Right.
you're not allowed to follow us, the whole 9 yards. So, you know, that's all part of doing investigations.
Yeah, that's like you're responsible, being a responsible paranormal investigator. You know, when you're in this field, you don't want to just willy-nilly, you know, just be out there looking for jump scares. You know, you have to, this is, you know, these people's lives, you know, people's lives, you know, so you don't want to, you know, play around with these things.
Right.
You know, to be professional about it.
Now, there's some true crimes and some paranormal claims that some murderers have claimed Ouija boards told them to do it.
Yeah.
And they're used during investigations or trials as evidence of insanity or manipulation. Mm-hmm. Alleged spirit messages have been linked to suicides and mental breakdowns, and skeptics argue that these examples of confirmation bias or delusion and, you know, sensational news stories have kept the board's dark reputation.
Right.
But once again, it's just a tool, just like any other tool, like dowsing rods or
pendulums.
Pendulums. The same way they work on the fine motor skills in your finger.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way pendulums work. So
I will tell you one thing: the Exorcist is the one that gets the bad rap from the Ouija board.
Yep. That really put the bad emphasis on it.
Because Reagan used the Ouija board to contact the spirit, and then the demon got in the middle, you know, of that communication. Then when she let it in, then that's how the demon took her over. But in the real case of Roland Doe, it wasn't the Ouija board; it was a ventriloquist dummy that his aunt used, and she was going to try to come back and contact him through the ventriloquist dummy.
Right.
So, and you know that in the Exorcist, because the spirit that she's talking to through the Ouija board says his name is Captain Howdy.
Really?
Yeah. And Captain Howdy was the guy that puppeted Howdy Doody, right? So that's them telling you what it really was. So it's kind of inside
joke in the movie.
Right.
So Bob knows his horror movie trivia for sure.
Yeah. Captain Howdy.
Now used in countless ghost hunts and seances by amateurs and professional investigators, and it's often combined, which has got a live restriction. Okay. Not a big deal. Often combined with EVP recordings, pendulums, and spirit boxes. Paranormal researchers debate its validity, but continue to use it, and boards are frequently found in haunted locations or abandoned homes, and considered a staple tool in many modern occult practices. Well, part of the found in haunted homes and stuff is they'll open the communication and never close it.
Right.
And you're leaving it open to a haunting.
Yeah.
For energies to come to the board. You know, you got to hang up the phone, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, once that long distance call is over, hang up, you know.
Exactly. And that's what happens. Is the kids are at a party or whatever, and they mess around with it, you know, half-assed, and then they just leave it.
Right.
You know, or they stick it under the couch or put it in the closet or whatever, and then go about their party, and they never told whatever's
on the other end of the board they're done.
The spirits the most important part.
Goodbye. Right.
They never said the most important part of it, so then all these years later, that thing is a conduit still. It's wide open. You know?
Right.
So if you believe in that sort of thing, they can come in whenever they want because you left the door open to them.
And it often serves as like a social tool for group gatherings, like sleepovers and, you know, Halloween parties and things like that. And it creates a shared emotional and psychological, you know, experience among people. You know, it's like it's something that brings everybody together to do something. Now, it can amplify fear, anxiety, or belief in the paranormal through suggestion. And groupthink often enhances the illusion of supernatural communications. And it has been studied in behavioral science as a means of unconscious group influence. Now, I noticed something that as we're going through here, I noticed something that it never gave us like when it was first printed or when the first ones were put out by Parker Brothers. And so
or William Fold.
Yeah, but then Parker Brothers actually picked it up.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Parker Brothers in Salem, Massachusetts.
Right.
So that's the kind of funny thing that goes along with that.
Even more spooky.
So, yeah, let's make it a little more spooky by printing a Ouija board in Salem, Massachusetts. So, what could be better than that? Now, they're still sold and used both as toys and a cult tool. And they got revived by TikTok and YouTube and paranormal influencers like us.
Yeah, there you go.
And then continue to divide public opinion, mystical to some, dangerous to others, frequently used in witch talk or new age spiritual communities. Remains a cultural icon and tied to fear and curiosity in the unknown. So, I mean, this came from a long time ago. Parker Brothers put it out in 1966. Was when Parker Brothers got it.
This is from the 60s.
That one is. I thought I saw a date on that one. There wasn't a date on it. So, but that's such a good piece right there. Such in good shape. I still wonder how it ended up in the rafters of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they knew they were building a funeral home, and some kids went on site and left it up there.
That funeral home's been a funeral home since there were horse and buggies there.
Oh, well, then maybe some people went in and decided they're going to do it when the funeral home closed.
And one of the kids of the funeral home owner was playing with it in the attic.
Well, that's a possibility. Now, we got 3 cases that Ouija boards were actually blamed for the hauntings. So we have the Doris Bither case, which is the entity haunting in 1974 in California. Now, Doris, a single mother living in Culver City, California, reportedly experienced violent paranormal activity. She and her children described physical attacks, moving objects, and dark apparitions, and some allegedly sexually aggressive. So Doris admitted to using a Ouija board shortly before the activity began, claiming the attempt to contact a deceased relative. Paranormal investigators, including Dr. Barry Taft, recorded unexplained lights and energy disturbances during his visits to the home. Now, her story became the inspiration for the 1982 horror film, The Entity.
Which is fantastic if you've ever seen it.
There you go.
Awesome.
Bob and Angie watch a lot of horror movies, and they review them right here on this channel. So if he says it's good, it's a good movie.
It's really, really good.
Because if it's trash, Bob will say it's trash. Yeah. Bob is not afraid to call out, a stinker when he sees one.
That lady gets beat up by the ghost in that movie. Really? And the paranormal investigators are there to see it. So they tear her house down and rebuild it in like a warehouse, stick by stick. And then they trick the ghost into coming back into the house, and then they pour liquid nitrogen on it and freeze the ghost solid in that movie. It's awesome. It's so awesome. So, you gotta see it.
Now, I know I'm going to mess this up. The Estefany Gutierrez Lazaro case, and that's from Spain in 1990. A Spanish teenager used a Ouija board at school to try to contact her friend's deceased boyfriend. During the session, a teacher interrupted and broke the board, after which strange events reportedly began to unfold. Now, that's another thing. Even if you break the board, if you don't close the session, it's still open.
Right.
So that just shows, So Estefany suffered from seizures, hallucinations, and unexplained fits for months before he unalived mysteriously. So after his death, her family claimed intense paranormal activity, shadowy figures, growling voices, and objects moving on their own. Now, this case became so well known that local police documented some of the alleged events, rare in hauntings, and inspired the Netflix show Veronica.
Oh, wow.
So there's one for you to watch.
Veronica. I guess they couldn't pronounce Estefania.
Right. So our last haunting is the Cranmer House haunting in Wadsworth, Ohio in 1991. A teenage girl named Julia Cranmer and her friends used a Ouija board in her family's 19th century farmhouse, and afterwards the family reported disturbing phenomenon, cold spots, apparitions, an oppressive atmosphere. A malevolent presence, which the board named Captain Howdy, was said to harass Julie and her siblings. So religious officials were brought in to bless the house, and the activity reportedly subsided after the board was destroyed. Locals still recount the legend, and paranormal groups have investigated the property multiple times. Now, see, I think that one is bullcrap for for the simple fact that it said it was Captain Howdy, and they probably stole that right out of the Exorcist movie.
So we didn't read it all the way to the end.
Yeah,
so,
we just
so my
had it.
little bit of trivia that I told you filled in what happened in this one, didn't it?
Right. So I'm calling BS on that one. And Bob and I, we'll debunk first. And if that's a big red flag. That's a giant red flag right there.
Enormous red flag. Is if they start quoting stuff from a movie that was about the thing that they're saying is haunted.
Right.
Then you're like, really?
That'd be one
really?
we'd be like, somebody would be like, can you come investigate? We'd be like, nope.
Yeah, I'll pass.
We'll pass. No,
well, this is totally real. Like,
yeah, I don't think so.
Is it though? Especially when it was brought to an end when the clergy destroyed the Ouija board, which is like the plot from Witchboard, which came out in 87 maybe, which is only a couple years before this happened.
Right.
There's a whole lot of Hollywood coincidences in this story.
Yep. So leave it to ChatGPT to find us a garbage one.
That's all right, though.
That's okay. We can prove to everybody that we're...
Give us more exposition.
Yep. Prove that we're the real deal. We don't mess around with the fake stuff.
Yeah. Captain Howdy. His glue came undone. His tape, so you guys on the live used to see Captain Howdy peeking over the bookcase back there.
Oh, yeah.
The YouTube people have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
They've never seen Captain Howdy.
Yep. So up here above us, for the YouTube people, it was like right up there.
Yeah, right in between those rafters was Captain Howdy peeking over the bookcase.
So on for our YouTube watchers, our TikTok watchers can actually see the top of our backdrop.
Yeah.
Because the format is vertical instead of horizontal.
Right.
So they can see over the top of our backdrop, and Bob had Captain Howdy's picture duct taped up above it, so it looked like something was peeking over the top of our backdrop all the time.
He's still down here somewhere.
So
I'll tape him back up.
So here's what Bob and I have decided. We were talking about giving away that bag full of paranormal equipment. And here's what we're going to do, guys. We put this out, and this is what we decided we're going to do. I know we got another thing going on we're going to have a little raffle for the people that come to the meet and greet. We're going to give away an IR camera.
Yeah.
Bob and I are going to autograph it with a silver Sharpie.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
And then that'll be yours. We've already got the camera. So somebody that's coming to the meet and greet will get that camera. But the bag of goodies that Bob has put together with the EMF detector and
black light
flashlight. So it's a really solid beginning kit.
Yeah.
Right? What we're going to do is we've always been asking you guys for your stories.
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. We are going to take your stories for the next month and a half. Then we're going to take the best couple and make podcasts out of them.
Yeah.
You can be named. You don't have to be named. If you're following here on TikTok tonight, you can send your story to Bob or to myself in a message. Make it as detailed as you want. If you're watching up here on YouTube, then you can send us that in an email, which is at the email addresses are at the end of the video if you watch the credits.
Yep.
Bob is the Real Veritas Project at gmail.com, and I'm investigator.todd.paranormal@gmail.com. So send us those stories, a lot of detail. We'll do a podcast. The podcast that gets the most views will win that bag. So if you have a haunted story and you want a chance at winning that bag, send us your story. We'll make a podcast out of it, and then that's your throw into getting that free ghost kit. We'll mail it off to you, send it to you, and it comes with we've got a bag, the flashlight, the EMF detector. What else is in there?
Spirit radio.
The spirit radio.
Yeah.
So like solid starting out things, and you can fill that thing up with just another $20, $30, and you'll be really solid, good to go. Stuff from Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
Some motion sensitive lights and things like that. Some trigger objects,
Yeah, a little trigger object.
And you'll literally have a solid ghost bag. You throw another $20 on top of what we're giving you.
Yeah.
Which what we're giving you is probably about a $50 value, I'd say, maybe a little more, maybe 60.
Wow. Yeah, if you consider the spirit radio for its price, it was probably $50 by itself.
Yeah, well, there you go. So probably like 75.
Yeah.
Flashlight was probably 10 or 15. The EMF detector is probably about 10-ish. Then you get the bag, which is probably another 10 or 15. So, if you want a chance at winning that.
It's a leather bag. It's nice.
Oh, it's a leather bag?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, even more then. So
it's probably an $80 bag.
Dang.
So altogether, it's probably close to, I'd say
$150, $200.
$150, $200 worth of stuff.
Right on. There you go. So if you want a chance at winning that, send us your story. Don't forget to check out the new T-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go ahead and put that up on YouTube this week. We gave our
Patreons have had free reign of it.
Yep.
And the prices are really good. The quality looks a lot better. So
fantastic. Prices are fantastic.
Yep.
The shirts that were like $22 are now like $16.
Yeah.
So the prices have gone down.
And Angie redid all the logos. She didn't transfer them over.
Oh, right on.
So they're higher resolution.
Higher resolution?
Yeah.
Nice.
So everything will look better. It's less price.
And what's that website, the new website?
It's
Printly. There you go. It's Printly. So the Veritas
and
Project.
Printly has a search, unlike the stupid Teespring that didn't have a search. So you had to scroll forever to find our page.
So yep. So you can do a search for the Veritas Project on Printly and find those.
Or follow the link that I'll put in the video.
Yep. And then Patreon members, don't forget, if you sign up for the $5 Patreon member, we send you those postcards every month.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody's got their postcard. We sent them out a few weeks ago, I guess, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. We sent those out.
Yeah.
So everybody should have their Cthulhu Easter Bunny card, hopefully by now. Let's see. Follow us on all the other social medias. Bob is R.S. Curtis and the Real Veritas Project on everything. And I am Investigator Todd on everything. And we are actually working on getting stuff together to where when we post on one, it'll post on multiple.
Yeah.
So that way all our stuff will be kept up to date with, in the next few weeks we'll get it taken care of, and then no matter where you go, things will be kept up to date. So
I've been neglecting the Facebook group and the Spotify for a long time, so I don't know if I'm going to go back and start over with the Spotify or just start over now.
I would just start now.
Spotify. Yeah, because we've got almost a year of content that we're behind on Spotify.
Yep.
And I noticed that there are some good numbers on there. They're just we haven't put anything on there in over a year.
So yeah, I would just start now with the new one, and here we go.
Just keep rolling.
So thank you guys for joining us this evening. We're gonna stick around for a few minutes here on TikTok and answer any questions that you guys have. YouTube, like, comment, share, hit that notification bell if you enjoyed it. Send us out to anybody that enjoys the paranormal. We appreciate you guys joining in, hanging out with us for the podcast every week. On behalf of the Veritas Project, Bob, Angie, Kay, and myself, thank you once again for your support and following us. And remember,
stay curious
and find the truth, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
See ya.